Okay, what we're looking at is a new artifact just found this year, May 2021, near the Iowa River in Marshall County, Iowa, on some land here in the USA. Again, this year in May of 2021. It's been inspected and now it's in the hands of a local antique and art dealer known as Frank White. And he's had a lot of people starting to look at this because it's pretty important. Although, right off the bat, the commentary that I got on this when I looked it up, inside of one paragraph, tried to say allegedly 3 times in one paragraph, which is kind of telling that the people are trying to dismiss it. In fact, one other person commenting saying that 2 of those people hadn't even seen the artifact and were just saying it off of the hearsay of what they saw or what they heard. It has somewhat of European looks to it, so that's somewhat telling a little bit too here as you look at it closely. And it's a mask again, so we're around Halloween time, so I don't know, it's a mask, but this is not one that you necessarily put on. And again, it's found right here near the Iowa River. And so it has this look and phenotype to it that a lot of people are saying is not really indicative of Native Americans, and it looks more European. One other said, well, from what your information is, that must be Phoenicians. Because they did an X-ray spectrometry test on it, and whenever they did, it came up to that conspicuous 99.8% pure copper. We've talked about that a few times here recently on the channel, and that really has to do with Michigan float copper. And so this is a little bit of a ways from it, but we've found copper artifacts that go along with that all over the Americas, and really kind of pinpoints down toward the Michigan group of people, the Adena culture, and so on. But this 99.8% pure copper is quite telling. This object's quite heavy. It had some patina on it. It can't be ascribed to the locals or the native Indians as we would know them here, and if you just look at the phenotype, it's quite conspicuous at the time. Again, when they run it through, they find that 99.8% copper, and they try to connect it to the Mississippian cultures or people like that. But they also mention here, even in this article, see if I can turn on the closed caption so it shows you. See, the source of the mask is in question, but the features on it look European. And that's quite telling too. So this is another conspicuous OOP-art or artifact that's shown in the Americas, showing that perhaps we have a connective, because any of these Indian cultures that we know of, not a single one's known to make reverse bronze casting masks. In any way. But there were a people that look kind of like this that we've made connections to the Bronze Age and what fueled the Bronze Age. And a lot of people, and I'm not alone in this in any way, shape, or form, have made connections whenever they've tested certain copper samples and gotten the idea that it's 99.8% pure, that that's almost impossible for people to have smelted out at the time or anything. It's just not right, correct. But also, we can't find any source of that. We know about Cornwall and its tin mines and so on, and a lot of copper mines. We also know what comes out of those copper mines and the mixes you get and how much you have to smelt to do it. But something real easy to do is that Michigan float copper, which is just literally sitting right there on the shore in large chunks, like a gold mine just sitting there. Like if you were walking down a seashore and just saw a broke open treasure chest with gold in it. To these people, it equated to that. you can imagine that that fueled them and their ways of trade. We've talked about the wreck of the Illabruyan and how that wreck that's off the coast of ancient Phoenicia there, Syria if you will, had a whole lot of ingots on it that are made in ingots, but also those weird pelts, oxides. They're literally poured out, but it's made to look like an oxide. But in the test of that, it showed blue glass that are made in 2 different types and so on, and all these neat things that are being traded by these Phoenicians. But the conspicuous thing is tons of this copper that they had from somewhere, and this copper was pure at 99.8% pure also. There's been a few Egyptian artifacts and stuff show that too, and a couple of other places that are real conspicuous. And so all this adds up to this fact of this copper perhaps coming from Michigan in the first place. We've talked about, of course, recently how Norse or Danish DNA was found in South America in pre-Columbian contact, but it wasn't them. It was their dogs. In fact, all the dogs through there in Mexico really are offshoots of those dogs genetically, and they test them, and it's pretty easy to find out, and a connective, so that shows them there at this time. I don't know how many pieces of this we have to put together before somebody starts taking notice, and then all of a sudden it shatters it. We've seen recent footprints at 23,000 years ago, so the whole Clovis thing is shattered. It really brings into the idea that it could have been those 130,000-year-old mammoth killing people that they talked about in San Diego were really someone that had already been here before too. Calico dig site says 200,000 years ago. There are handfuls and handfuls of sites that date before the Clovis event even, and that's at the Younger Dryas, and then goes away and they're gone. But pre to that, it looks like there was a Solutrean people over here. Not that this gives any claims to anybody, it's just the reality of what happened versus the dogma that we've been put into. Kind of strange. Let me know down in the comments what you think here, but again, 99.8% Michigan float copper. I don't know to you, but to me it looks like this thing's almost been rubbed over with a gold foil that's so fine it's just paper thin and see-through in places, and you can see it around the right eye. Perhaps it's just a little bit of polishing, because I heard this thing had an incredible amount of patina on it and dirt and everything when they got it, but then they took a brush to it and scrubbed it all off, and in doing so, of course, that wore off a lot of the oxidation, but you can still see a lot around the lip and the chin and so on. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and again, here's just another drop in that bucket, and I wonder when that bucket gets full enough before the teeter-totter starts floating the other way. Peace.